For those of you watching live, you know this as the Tuesday Property.ca meeting, but today is day one, episode one of the Property.ca podcast. And there's no better way to start this off. We got some guests in here. We got a lot of action going on. So welcome to the Property.ca podcast. For those of you who don't know me, if you're listening to this for the first time, my name is Josh Benoliel. I'm the VP of Sales here at Property.ca. And today we are joined as our first guest on the show. We know him as DJ. Other people know him as Daaron Johnston. Why don't you introduce yourself, bro?
I'm the guinea pig, episode number one. One of the brokers here at Property.ca. Been here for 6 years. Top producer.
And it's been a ride.
It's been a fucking ride.
It's been a ride. You've been here. You've grown here. And we're excited to have you on episode one because I don't think there's anyone else better to do it. You're producing a ton of content out there in the market. People should know who you are because you're here to stay and you're here to play. So let's get into it. Let's start this bad boy. All right, so my first question for you is, what's your mindset of the week? Like, how do you stay motivated as a real estate agent every single day to keep doing what you do?
Well, I know if I don't do well, my girlfriend will leave me. I think it's really important to either reward yourself or to set goals, or at least personally, that's how I stay motivated every day.
How can you stay motivated every single day? It's to keep on your grind, keep pushing forward, don't give up. It's hard work, but once you get into the groove and you get it going, success is inevitable. If you keep doing the right actions every day, you will eventually become successful at it.
And also building on that, this is sales. So it's most of the time it's going to be pain and getting rejected. But that rush of closing a deal, that's why we're all in sales. Or at least, a lot of people I know, it's that rush.
We're in glorified sales. Everything is sales.
Yeah.
You wake up and you got to, convince your whatever to do something. Everything is sales. You know, we had to do everything in life is sales, but we're in that rush definitely at winning that win. So we'll circle back to a little bit more sales stuff, but there's some mindset stuff to get you going. So we'll start off with some announcements from our company quickly, just so whoever is listening from internal can hear. All right, so as people can see from our company, we now have a podcast studio at Property.ca. You're going to start to hear a lot more content coming out of this brokerage specifically. This is the main Property.ca podcast that we're going to be living off of, where we're going to be bringing in a different agent and a different speaker with us every single week. But we're also going to start to see a lot of content coming out from our agents. Someone like DJ is going to obviously pull out his own show soon, and you're going to see a lot of Property.ca content coming out soon. A little feedback from the party. So Thursday night, Property.ca rented Cabana Pool Bar. Most people listening were there, or watching were there. DJ, how did you feel about the resurgence Property.ca Cabana party, our summer party?
I wish I remembered more.
It was an open bar.
It was awesome. It was like the old days, the work hard, play hard. It was really good to see that again.
Yeah, we played hard.
Too hard.
It was fun.
I'm sorry to anyone I pissed off.
And you had a wicked shirt on about the basis points. We had that going, which was awesome. You had that, what do you say? What was your shirt?
25 basis points.
Daaron was wearing a shirt at the party that said 25 basis points. We're live to air. Me and DJ are real, but this is real. We're doing it real. We're real podcasting.
Cut to commercial.
Cut to commercial break. Today's episode brought to you by our preferred vendors, Miriam's Mortgages. No one does it like Miriam's Mortgages. On that note, Daaron, what's your credit score?
Fuck. 715.
715. That's a decent number. That's a good number. I think that's in the is that in the good or the very good credit area of?
That's in the not get me a rental downtown.
No, I think that's just because you're a real estate agent.
Yeah.
How's his 715 hold up, Miriam?
Like I said, honestly, anything over 700 makes no difference. So it's good. He can borrow. He can get access to any lender. If he wants to improve it, just because that's his motivation, you have to look at two things. What are the credit limits on your credit card? Try to keep them under 50% of the credit limit. And two, just making sure your monthly payments are more than the minimum. Small trick, maybe pay them 5 days before the due date. So if it's due on the 5th, pay it on the 1st. It's all about a numbers game. So you'll obviously see it increase.
Cool. Thank you, Miriam.
Yo, I think Canada has the highest number of credit cards in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know what the number is?
No.
There's more credit cards in Canada than there are in the U.S.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
I don't know. Run the stat.
Where'd you find that from?
If I'm wrong, cut it.
Okay, somebody who's at home right now listening on Zoom, can someone check that stat for us? Brendan, if you're listening, will you check that stat? We need to fact check that right now.
It would, if that's remotely true, it would be per capita.
Per capita.
It's on a ratio
Of course,
basis.
per capita. Yes, per capita. Obviously, population compared to the states.
That's what I thought you said.
Sorry,
We didn't bring in the per capita.
Per capita.
That's why we got our fact checker on Zoom right there, ready to go. It's a team effort here at Property.ca. You can see how we roll
I bet
this.
you I'm right though. Per capita.
I believe you. Makes sense. All right, we're having fun. Okay, let's keep it going. For all the realtors out there, everybody listening, there is an official deadline for when we will say goodbye to Stratus. So are you using Stratus or Realm?
Stratus.
So you're still on Stratus. I'm still on Stratus. I know it. I've been raised on it. I've touched Realm a bit, but guess what? The day is coming. Thursday, February 29th, 2024, we're cut off.
So we'll leave it till the 28th.
Yes, we'll learn how to use it on the 28th. Actually, I think the 29th will be the day I'm going to learn how to use it. So for all you realtors listening, again, there's a deadline coming that we will no longer be having Stratus on the Treb board. We will be shifting over completely to Realm.
Ooh, that's a leap year.
It's a leap year? Oh yeah, it's the 29th. Look at that. That's some freaky deaky stuff. You think they planned that on purpose? All right, let's get into some other stuff here. We're going through it really well. Let's talk about marketing, Darren. You know, you're doing really well. I see what's happening out there. You're posting these videos. You're getting behind the camera, like all the things that we encourage our agents to do on a regular basis. And it's incredible to see like how you're jumping into that. Like, where would you give let's give everybody a marketing tip right now that's listening. For someone who's a real estate agent who knows what they're talking about, and they're just afraid to get behind the camera in a way that you and I are comfortable doing. What would your main tip be for those people?
Like practice in front of the camera. Like just sit there in front of the camera.
Record yourself.
Record yourself,
okay.
Of course. But like also like find something that works for you. Convey your message in a way that like every other agent isn't doing. Like everybody puts out a market stat report or like what's a deposit or, you know, the most boring like rudimentary shit. I think you need to do something different. And also just like find your own way of doing it. Like I like to kind of go against the grain and be a little bit edgy. And like that's what makes me different and kind of stand out from the pack. And I think if you can find a way to like make it your own.
Yeah. You have to have your own voice nowadays. I mean, like having basic stats content is done. I don't think dancing in front of the camera is done, but you know, doing stuff a little bit different, it makes the biggest change. You know, the biggest leap in my social media that I saw happen was when I stopped from just focusing on real estate and bringing my son into my into my videos, like playing with him off on it. I did like a video of him running around with like a coming soon sign, and then I posted that on one of my listing videos, and that was my highest watched listing video ever on Instagram.
The worst is when you spend like hours on like a really good video and it gets like 3 likes.
Oh, I saw a reel yesterday of like some girl, like, you know those girls who like paint their bodysuit on, like they paint she's like spending 6 hours painting on a bodysuit to have your lowest recorded video ever is a really good feeling.
Right, yeah.
At least we just have to talk.
And it's true, it's like you're talking about bringing in like your kids because like you can't just post real estate because when people are going through their feeds, they're going to think it's like people go on social media to get away from like their life. They don't want more commercials, more ads. And like seeing real estate shit, it's just like watching a commercial.
Right.
So like post some personal stuff like, you know, maybe 1/3, make it personal.
Right.
Or like try and make your real estate stuff so it's not so like an ad.
Yeah.
Like make it interesting.
Give it a little bit more into it. Put a little flair. And it's also good, you know, watch what other people are doing, like really high successful people, and make it your own. So lots to learn. We'll get more into that. We'll have more fun with that. You know, Darren's really good at it, and make it your own is the takeaway from today. Make it your own. Also, just start.
Just start.
Just start. Like,
Yeah.
just try, you know? Enough people just don't overanalyze it. Just
It doesn't need to be perfect, right?
No, you're better off with putting something out there 10 times that's not perfect than never putting anything out there that's perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, real estate, Toronto. Let's talk about it. Our screen's in front for today. All right, so we go through these stats every week. And I'm going to leave the stats on the screen for the people at home to see what's going on. But let's talk about it a little bit. Let's talk about what's happening with Toronto condos right now. Like, forget the numbers for a second. You know, I know the average condo in Toronto right now is around 790, I believe the number is on that screen. Let's talk about it. What's happening in the Toronto condo market right now for everybody listening? Buyers, sellers, real estate agents
I
out
can't
there.
even read the screen from here, but
Forget the screen. You're Daaron Johnston, one of the top producers of condos.ca, one of the biggest condo brokerages in the city of Toronto. What do you have to say about Toronto condos right
like
now?
I
What's
think
the
we're
market
seeing
doing?
a spike in inventory, and especially for a summer, like we've probably got more inventory now than previously this year.
Yeah.
Offer dates are working less and less. I think especially with a rate hike tomorrow, it's going to cool buyer sentiment even more. I think we're heading into like an amazing buying opportunity.
Yeah, and we'll see how this week plays out, right? Because we're tracking the weekly numbers for all our agents who are watching online. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes next week. Because I bet you this week would not be a good idea to have an offer date tonight on your condo.
Right.
Today would not be a good day for that.
And we got mortgage renewals coming up. Like I think we're going into a world of pain. So I think if you're a buyer, there's going to be some really good opportunities.
Yeah, well, that leads me to the next slide here, where we get into the freeholds, and I'll just go to the graph for a second. And I totally agree with you of where you're at on the condo side of things. Like, I mean, there's so many condos being built. Like, be patient, that opportunity's coming. But let's talk about freeholds for a second. So do you sell some houses? I know you do. I would probably, knowing our trading volumes, I probably would say that you sell more condos than you do houses.
Totally.
I sell more houses. I think that same sentiment that you just said on condos is amplified substantially in the housing market right now. I did a deal last week, closed it at that Property.ca party actually in that evening. The property was listed a year ago at 2.9. This was in Forest Hill, South Hill, okay, right at the end of Warren Road there. Property was listed at 2.9. They brought it back out, I think, 90 days ago at 2.7. I came in, we started off our offers back and forth. My client said, this is my top dollar. We ended up walking away on the property at $2,350,000. It was listed at 2.7. The house is probably really worth at least 2.5. But you look at it and say, well, seller fatigue is hitting so hard right now that, when you have a property that's sitting on the market for 90 days and you haven't gotten an offer, while the property might be worth it and it is at that value point, that seller fatigue is starting to hit. And it's so important for buyers to know, like buyers are seeing that happening and they're winning. But I think from a seller's perspective, it's so important right now that you hire a professional real estate agent that knows your neighborhood and knows the product that's happening, because that same house, if they listed it at 2.5, they probably would have got it sold at 2.5.
Agreed. Like I think if you're not hitting the price target like right out of the gate, you're really shooting yourself in the foot.
You got to win on the first shot here.
Yeah.
There's no room for error. So, and I think when you're dealing with a listing and somebody's like, I want to get it up next week, I think the best thing you can do as a professional real estate agent right now is slow that conversation down a little bit and say, understand your needs as a seller and that you want to move this property, but this is not the market where we just gung-ho jump into it. Yes, I could very easily list your condo next week, get the photos done, stage it, but it's not in your best interest right now. Give me the listing. Sign an exclusive listing with me, which is what we do a lot of here while we're getting the ball rolling in the background. Let's get the exclusive listing going. Let's get the contract done so that we can now take the time, whether it's next Thursday or 3 Thursdays from now. Let me be the judge of when we're going to do that. I'll time the market properly. I'll watch what's happening. We'll get everything ready in the background so we're ready to go. But now more than ever, it's important to watch your timing and come out of the gate running with your listings. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. And so segueing from that, would you say buy or sell first right now?
It's tough. I think it really comes down to what their objectives are. Okay, so I'll go back to another example. What do you buy or sell first?
On average, and I know
If
it
I'm
changes
going
for every product.
Okay, exactly. But I'll give you 2 examples. If I live in a house right now and I'm 60 years old and I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to move into a condo in Mimico, I think you sell your house first and go and buy that condo afterwards, because we have tons of inventory in that condo market and you're ready to go. Now, let's flip that conversation to a family who has a specific need for a specific type of building. For example, I deal with a lot of religious Jewish people, right? So I sold a house for somebody and the people needed to move into one of 4 buildings in Thornhill. There's 4 buildings that work for these people with a Shabbat elevator, all these different little pieces there. I did not want to put those people into a situation where they didn't know where they were going, right? But at the same time, we didn't know if the house would sell or not. Now, we sold the house in a day and we were able to find them the right condo. So I think you need to look at the situation of what's the inventory. To answer your question, should you buy or sell first? Here's my, now that we've talked about a lot. You need to look at the inventory of where the person's going to see what that pool of volume looks like, so you know that if you're secure there. Then you can look at how quick am I going to be able to sell the house. In this market, I think you need to be able to sell that house first. That's your biggest challenge, and then move into buying a home, because like we said, seller fatigue's hitting in. There's opportunities out there. Unless you're looking for something extremely, extremely specific, I would sell first, then buy. If you're looking for something extremely specific, we got to buy and then sell, but you put yourself in that risk, and having a good real estate agent can help mitigate that risk by having certain exit clauses and things in both agreements that will allow you a little bit more security.
Yep, no doubt.
But don't go buy a condo with no conditions in it and no nothing, firm offer, paying full list price right now, and then hoping to sell your house in the next week, because that ain't going to happen for the most part.
Yeah.
Unless you have really good product.
Of course.
Right? So I'm going to keep rolling through the slides here. What else do you see happening in the market right now? Let's talk about it a little bit. All the people at home are reviewing the stats that we got on the screen here. Like, we're talking, just so people that are listening, our agents are watching the screen behind Mississauga prices of condos and houses and Vaughan stuff. And I don't think we need to dig deep into that right here. Everyone can analyze that info on their own. But what do you feel like? Do you do any business outside of the core of the GTA? Like, I know you just sold a house in Aurelia that you bought as an investment property, and that you did well on that, right?
Yeah.
While that market's taking a hit, you still managed to win.
Like, man, Aurelia's got really low inventory. Like, Aurelia's great to invest in.
I have a place in my cottage in Aurelia.
Like, probably one of the only places that you can find really good cash flow properties.
And the prices are down.
Prices are down.
Problem is, you got to deal with, the tenants aren't the best out in Aurelia for the most part.
Fuck, don't get me started.
You're not getting a banker coming to work at live in your place.
No, but there's tons of government jobs there.
And doctors.
And Hydro One.
Yeah, and doctors and stuff. Like, you'll get good people.
Yeah.
You got to just vet your people well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What else are you seeing happening outside, like the
failed offer dates, more conditions?
What about offers conditional on selling the buyer's home?
I saw one.
Yeah.
Like through a colleague, someone told me that they saw that. I had a client ask to put that in, and I was like, "Come on, guys, don't." I'm not even gonna.
I've had multiple deals like that myself.
And I wouldn't even waste my time.
So I learned from experience, and I think in real estate, often enough we try to learn from other people's experience before we fail on our own. Unfortunately, last summer I had an experience where I had a property, was sitting for 90 days. Someone came to us, offer conditional on the buyer selling their home. Now, I learned from that mistake because I got the information about their home, but I didn't put in my condition that they needed to list that property within a certain amount of days. And what ended up happening is they just dragged it on, and it's the agent's fault because he didn't push enough. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, it's gonna sell. I'm like, dude, you got to get this property on the market now. Like, what are you waiting for? And I think he got stuck at that point where he didn't sell the house. He had to back out of the deal on us, which was annoying. But in the end, we actually sold the property for more than that offer was for, with no conditions, and the close in 30 days.
God.
So we won in the end. But what I learned from that is that people are doing that, especially in rural areas, like outside of the GTA. Totally. But it's really important, if you are going to do something like that, or you're going to accept it as a listing agent, or you're going to include it as a buyer agent, to add some wording into your clause that says this is the property and this is the date we're going to list it by. So that it creates a timeline for everybody. Because as you know, with offers in real estate, if we're not working within a given timeline, deals fall apart so easy. That's why they're there, right?
Or if you're a listing agent, go look up the property and you can tell, okay, this property is going to sell quick, or this one's a piece of shit and it's going to sit.
Another thing I did once before, I said, I'll accept this deal, but I'm co-listing this listing with you. It's not about the commission part. I just want to be a co-listing agent, so I have a say in what's happening here. Another fun way to play it.
Yeah.
Cool little tip for you guys out there today. That's something new that we don't usually talk about.
Right.
We're getting into some stuff. All right, so let's talk about a little bit of pre-con. I do a bunch of pre-con. Darren, what's your pre-con take out there? What are you working on in pre-con?
Like I like the 4% of pre-con,
Yeah.
but like I'm not a proponent of it right now. Just the premium you're paying and the spread between resale and
Yeah.
construction.
But there's other avenues besides just the price aspect, So I have a slide on the screen. I'm sorry, guys, whoever's watching this on YouTube afterwards, that you don't see it on the screen. But the Acre project. This is a developer that I know extremely well. Super high end. They do a great job of what they're doing. Number one, they're offering 5% commission right now. So if you like 4, you must really like 5. And they're offering the first
In that case,
2.
I'm a big proponent.
And they're offering the first 2 within 30 days of the deal going firm. So that's like a
Right.
resale deal.
Right. I like that.
But the nice thing about these guys is doing a couple of different things. Number one, their average price per foot at Yonge and Eglinton is around $1,400 a square foot, where nothing else is recently sold for that. Another great incentive that they're offering right now is 10% down between now and January, and you don't have to put any more money until the building's built in 2027. So while the actual price spread is different, if I can go buy $1 million condo right now and only put $100,000 down in the next 6 months and not have to think about it until that condo actually hits that mark, as long as you're not buying a $2,000 a square foot unit, you have a lot of spread, and it gives you an opportunity to invest your money in a little bit of a different way.
I just like resale because what you see is what you get. Nothing's going to be changed.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think, pre-con world is definitely changing. And it's something that I agree. Like, you can go out there and buy a great deal right now. There's no question about it. But there's also good opportunities in the pre-con thing if that model works for you. Yeah. Someone like you can go out and get a mortgage on a resale property. What if you can't?
Right. Like, I like the assignment market right now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, of course.
It's a bloodbath.
Well, there's a lot happening. Have you done any assignments recently?
Yeah.
Where have you won?
121 Lower Sherburne.
Okay.
Time and space.
When's the closing happening? I think it's around just occupancy.
It's like August 17th is occupancy.
Occupancy.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what's due then? 5%? Most people's deals?
Yeah, 5%. Less than 5%, I think.
And what do people buy it, and what are assignments going for right now?
Basically, we got it for break even plus real estate fees.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your buyer had to pay the commissions?
Like, no, but like that's what the spread would be. So
Yeah.
the seller sold it at cost plus whatever she paid.
And they bought it 3 years ago.
Yeah. And like some people are selling at a loss right now.
I know. Assignments, it's you got to have cash to be able to do it, but if you want to pick up a win right now, you can buy a pre-construction condo essentially that you can start generating revenue on today that somebody purchased 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely something that we get into. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute in the assignment space. Going through some of our listings here in the company, Property.ca brought out 29 new listings in the past week, active right now. We got this property here. We talked a little bit about before. We got Valerie Munn has a nice listing. It's a triplex on DuPont Street. I think it's really priced really well. DuPont and Davenport. Really nice, 3 units in there. High investment property. I don't remember. I think it's listed right now at around $2 million. So really interesting. Reach out to Valerie if you want to find out more about that property. A couple other listings. James McNally's got a listing here on 33 Delisle. James is in the office right now. James, if you hear me, how come you haven't sold this thing yet, James? What's going on here? It's been a couple months, but you know what? It's a very unique building. Really, really high quality building in my opinion. Located at Yonge and St. Clair. And there's a lot of good value there. So if you're looking for something in that area, check that out. I've actually been in that listing myself. All right, so let's go back to the exclusives and let's talk about this exclusive assignments a little more because I think there's a lot of value to add people when we're talking about this. So you said Lower Simcoe. I think Sugar Wharf is another one that's coming up right now that people are selling a lot of assignments in. You know any other ones that you've heard about recently?
Oh man, there's so many. What's that one in Vaughan? Transit TC3.
Transit City 3 and 4, yeah. Those are
some
coming
good
up.
deals there.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody, for an agent listening right now, whether it's one of our agents who are on the call or an agent who's listening online, what would you say one of the most important things to do in an assignment? So what should people be including in their deals when they're doing an assignment deal?
100% lawyer approval.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're gonna fuck yourself. And these things are so complicated. Like if you don't know what you're doing, you got to talk to an agent who's done it before.
Yeah.
It is so complicated.
Definitely.
I think that's the main one, man.
Well, there's so many ways
the
to spin
lawyer
a
can
cat.
fix everything. Just put it lawyer approval.
Lawyer approval definitely will give you a stamp of approval and make you feel a little bit more confident in what's going on. So that's interesting. Another thing that happens, so making sure the lawyer is over like watching your whole entire thing, very important piece. Another thing that I think is important is that, what am I missing here? So the lawyer part of it, and then, there's so many ways that these assignments can get written. Often enough people are like, oh, I want all my profits right now, and then that doesn't work out, especially in this market. You're able to structure deals where it's like, no, I'm going to close on it. You pay the last deposit with the money that I'm giving you. You pay that last deposit, and I'm going to pay the balance to you on closing once I get a mortgage and register on it.
Way more components for negotiation.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces there, and you really got to understand that and make sure you dig deep into it. So definitely an interesting piece there. Is the camera recording still? Awesome. So Daaron, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit of a quick story about yourself, because you're here, we're talking about a lot of great stuff. Why don't you just give everybody the clean version, let's call it, of why you became a real estate agent?
So I wanted to go into finance, like investment banking, and I went to school for finance and business, and then I kind of fell into real estate because I didn't want to be in the office at 6 a.m. and I thought I wanted to create my own schedule. Who would have thought? That's not the case. And then so I started my first year at Forest Hill.
Okay.
And I'm at a Christmas party, and I meet Arslan, and Arslan's like, I work at Property.ca. He's like, you got to come work here. He's giving me the hard sales pitch. I'm like, no, I'm at Forest Hill. This is the cool, luxury brand. He shows me his T4, just like Wolf of Wall Street. I quit the next day. I joined Property.ca. Boom, 100 grand my first year, doubled it every year.
Wow. You got to talk to Jeff about that story, because Jeff had a similar story as well. He was working at Forest Hill. So Jeff broke a record here, my uncle. He was working at Forest Hill, and Sean Miller was an agent here. And they started at the same time. They were in the courses together. And Sean's like, I'm doing deal after deal. You got to come work. You got to come work. And Jeff's like, no, I'm at Forest Hill. I'm at the luxury brand. You're, whatever. And then eventually he's like, no. I'm doing deal after deal. You're not understanding me. Jeff saw it, came in and started. So it's almost the identical same story.
Right.
And what would you say to people as to now that you saw how fast people were making money here, our training, our culture, these are all things that we always hear from everybody of why they love working here, the support. What would you say that, besides those two things, culture, training, and leads, what else happens in this company that you like about it? Why do you love Property.ca?
I don't have to go out and door knock. Yeah, we have to warm call, but so what? You can hide behind a phone. You don't have to door knock. Do your calls, make the money. There's no secret to being successful here. I also like the fact that you can claim a lead, and it could be anyone, a Jays player, a Leafs player, a musician, you meet the coolest people, the Prince of, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
But
of Orange.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
It's something new every day.
Yeah, you meet a lot of interesting people. I think that's definitely one of the most important things that doesn't get talked about enough in our company. The level of people that I've met through leads that have come through our company are you talk about networking and surrounding yourself with high-end people. Well, I rented a place to a guy who's paying $17,000 a month for a house. That connection level of that person, I don't think I would meet him on the street going out for dinner with my wife to Buka.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I'm not meeting that guy. I might meet him at a conference. But not only did I meet that person, I'm in business with that person now. We're deep. We have a real relationship. And I'm actually picking up from that person little pieces of information and growth that are extraordinary. So that's a very interesting piece. And thank you for sharing that. For everybody listening on the Property.ca live stream, thank you so much for joining in and being patient with us. We're working through how this is going to work. For anybody listening online to the first Property.ca podcast, it might have been a little bit choppy. We'll bring Daaron back for sure. We're going to get better at this, but this is the way we're rolling now. We're putting out great content. We built this amazing studio. DJ, love you, bro. Thank you for coming out. Get busy, guys. Get selling. Pick up those phones. Make those phone calls. The summer is here. There's deals to be had. Get after it. Have a good one.